All right, please be seated. All right, proceed with cross-examination.
Okay. Can we go ahead and put the TV on HDMI too, so that can already be queued up? All right, Ms. Hurd, you said you had 2 roommates, and one of which was Quayla Royster, right?
Correct.
Okay. Who was the other?
Gazi Nakemka.
Was she with you all that night?
Yes, she was with me.
Okay. And you live off campus, right?
During that summer, yes, I did.
Okay. And you said that you had few interactions with Mr. Batey, am I right?
That is correct.
Okay, and when you say few interactions, name them. When is the last time you had ever met him?
I met him when I went over to Gillette Dormitory previously that summer.
Okay.
I don't remember the exact interactions.
And you also met him at your apartment, right? At a swimming? You all went swimming?
Yes, that was correct, yeah.
Okay, and Mr. McKenzie brought him over there, am I right?
Yes, a group of them came over there, correct.
Okay, and you know Mr. McKenzie?
Yes.
You have a relationship with him?
Currently, I do not.
But back then, I'm talking June 23rd, 2013.
Yes, I did.
Okay. And now, on June 23rd, 2013, you did say you were drinking that night?
Yes, I have been drinking that night.
Okay, and about how old were you then?
21.
So you were already 21 and you were able to drink?
Correct.
Okay. And when you all were there, you were at the parking lot party as well? In front of East Hall? Is that where you were?
I wasn't at a parking lot party that night, no.
Okay, well, where were you? Drinking?
Earlier that night, I was at a party in an apartment complex nearby campus, yeah, that's where I was.
So you weren't with Quayla at the parking lot?
At the time, Quayla was with us at the party, but she left because she wanted to go visit Cory Batey.
Okay, and so you don't know anything about East Hall, a party in East Hall on June 23rd? On June 22nd, the night of June 22nd, early morning is June 23rd.
We did pass by it, but we did not go inside.
You did not go inside?
No.
Okay. And did you know anything about it being outside, a party outside that day?
No, I did not on campus.
Okay. And if Quayla was there, you weren't with her?
That is correct, I was not with her.
Okay. So you then decided, at what point in time did you decide to go to Mr. Batey's room?
I don't remember the exact time. It was late in the night.
Okay. And how did you find out that Miss Royster was in Mr. Batey's room?
Oh, we were in contact with her. She texted us this information.
Okay. And so then you just showed up?
That is correct. We told her that we wanted to come get her.
Okay. And did you all, because you all rode together?
At the time when we were texting her, I was with my roommate Gazi. And we were in contact with her, texting. We told her we wanted to come get her, so we came to Gillette after that period.
Did you all ride together was my question.
Oh, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to show you a bit of surveillance, okay?
Okay.
Is that your friend Quayla?
Yes, that's her. Next to Mr. Batey.
Okay, in the blue and white shirt.
Correct, with like the jean shirt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you identify the time on that?
28:30 a.m.
128?
Yes.
Okay.
We don't catch the end of the round.
Anything further on this?
Oh, we're just going to go to the next one.
Oh, okay.
Now, how long after 1:28 a.m. did you get to Mr. Batey's room?
Like I said, this was 3 years ago. I'm not sure of the exact time that I entered the dormitory. Possibly 2 a.m.
Okay. And again, I get it. It has been 3 years.
It's been a long time.
I know, I understand. All right, so we're going to show you another bit of surveillance, okay?
Okay. Thank you.
Are you familiar with that area right there?
Yeah, Gillette Circle.
Okay. And can you tell me what time that is? On the timestamp on there, can you see it?
Yeah, it's like moving on 2819.
No, so it's look before the 28. There's a number right there.
Oh, I can't see it. It's like, it's shifted,
Pause that a
yeah.
little bit.
Oh, it's 228, okay.
Objection, Your Honor.
Pause that.
If there is something in the surveillance video that has any relation to Ms. Heard, if that can be shown versus playing this from the beginning as the jury's already seen it multiple times.
It actually does, Your Honor, and we're about to get there and ask her if she can identify two people who are in there that nobody could previously identify. So,
And Your Honor, now my objection is relevance.
now, Your Honor, it's going to be, maybe have a sidebar so she's not giving the answer to the witness.
Let's see what's on here.
Okay,
They
thank you.
need to go to lunch.
Okay, and I understand that.
Smooth, Judge, smooth.
Is it playing? Okay. Just speeding it up. All right, this has been speeded up. And now it's at normal speed. Now, those two girls, is that you coming out?
Yeah, that's me, in
Okay.
Ghazi.
Okay, and let it continue. And is that you looking in the car over there?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so the time stamp on there is 2:29 a.m. So that was you and your other roommate coming out of...
Out of Gillette, yeah.
Okay. Now, you said you appeared, when you went to the room, you were focused on Quayla?
Yeah, I was just focused on trying to get her to come home with us.
Okay, and you had never been around Mr. Batey before when he was drinking?
No.
Okay, I have no further questions.
Now we're good.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right. We'll break for lunch, 1 hour. All rise. The next witness, I believe, is Ms. Parnell, who's a nurse practitioner. Will the defense stipulate that she is an expert in a particular field?
Yes, in that particular field.
All right, and I will tell the jury.
Judge, I believe the instructions had sexual assault nurse examiner.
Okay, thanks for telling me that, because I surely didn't have it written down.
That's what was in charge, expert as a sexual assault nurse examiner.
All rise.
All right, please be seated. I trust that none of you were upset that you had to wait a few extra minutes for your lunch, were you?
I was waiting for us.
Okay, good. All right, next witness.
Catherine Parnell.
Miss Catherine. And by the way, well, I have it written down both ways. Ms. Parnell is a nurse practitioner who's an expert as a sexual assault nurse examiner, and she will be testifying as an expert as stipulated by the defense. All right?
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes.
Could you please introduce yourself, tell us your name, and please spell your first and last name for the court reporter?
Yes, my name is Catherine Parnell, Kathryn, last name Parnell.
And as you heard, as you were walking in, Judge telling about your expertise, so we won't go into any great in-depth, but tell us, what is it you do and by whom are you employed?
Yes, I'm a forensic nurse and I work for Nashville General Hospital. I perform exams there and also at Vanderbilt University Medical Center.
And what type of examinations?
Sexual assault examinations.
All right, and how long have you been doing that?
Since 2009.
Okay. And again, without going into a whole great lot of detail, what is your educational and professional background?
Yes, I have a bachelor's degree in biology, a master's degree in nursing. I am a women's health nurse practitioner and also a sexual assault nurse examiner.
Okay. And Your Honor, I provided copies of her CV to counsel. If I could ask this be
All right, I think that'll be number 49.
handed to Ms. Parnell. Ms. Parnell, would you take a look at that, and is that a current, up-to-date
Yes, sir.
resume? And I would now tender that as Exhibit 49.
All right.
Thank you. How long have you worked as a forensic nurse examiner?
I've worked as a forensic nurse since 2009. I've been employed here in Nashville as a forensic nurse since 2011.
And is that the only thing you do in your field, in your occupation?
Currently, yes.
Okay. Now, do you work a regular shift where you're just sitting there waiting for somebody to come in, or how does that work?
There are 5 nurse practitioners that perform the same job I do here in Nashville in Davidson County, and we take call 12-hour shifts, call shifts that are 12 hours long. So I carry a pager with me and a cell phone, and I respond to those calls and pages when I'm working.
Okay. And I believe you testified that it's Nashville General Hospital and sometimes Vanderbilt. And what would be the difference of you going to one location versus another?
So we respond to Vanderbilt if it's a Vanderbilt student, a Vanderbilt employee, or a trauma victim.
All right. I want to ask specifically to get to the case at hand. Were you called to perform an examination on a young lady named Elizabeth Lackey?
Yes.
Okay. Now, before we get into the details of her examination, is there sort of a standard, a protocol that you go through in these examinations?
Yes, as far as what happens once I arrive
Yes.
at the hospital.
Yes.
So once I arrive at the hospital, I would meet with the patient, introduce myself, have her sign a consent form that gives me permission to examine her. Then I would take a health history from her and an account of the events that preceded her presenting to the hospital. Then I would perform a physical exam to look for any injuries and also to collect evidence. And then we would discuss prophylactic treatment for sexually transmitted infections and follow-up testing.
Okay. Is the woman's OBGYN or their regular physician called in for this?
No, sir, not here in Davidson County.
Okay. And are these typically patients of yours?
No, they're not. We see female victims ages 16 and up. So.
Okay. And counsel has this document that we're going to work off of. If I could ask that be passed to Ms. Parnell. Ms. Parnell, would you take a look at that and see if that appears to be the report generated with reference to Ms. Elizabeth Lackey?
Yes.
And the report itself, the fill-in-the-blank aspects of that, how was that generated and what is the purpose of that form?
This is the District Attorney General's Office report of sexual assault complaint, also what we refer to as the MLE form or the medical legal exam form. So it's the form we use when we see a patient at the hospital under these circumstances.
Okay. Now, again, before getting into the actual form and the paperwork, do you have any independent recollection of this young lady?
I recall that she was Caucasian and that she had blonde hair.
Okay. And it'd be fair to say, beyond that, you'll be referring upon the report and your
Yes,
notations made contemporaneous with the examination?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, do you recall whether you got to the hospital first?
I met her in triage for the first time. I don't recall. I believe she was there first.
Okay. Pardon me. To your recollection, was she accompanied by anyone?
Not that I remember.
Okay. Now, if we could, and I believe Patrol Norman is going to assist in putting this up page by page, and I'll try to figure out which way might be the best to, okay, if everyone can see. Beginning with identification, and perhaps could we enlarge that? Okay, much better. Can you see that from there? Well, obviously you have the
Yes.
form. Okay. Date, time, admitted to ER, and what does ER stand for?
The emergency room.
Okay, and what is that notation?
1700, which would have been 5 p.m.
Okay. At the time this is filled out, have you?
Yeah, at the time this is filled out, we've just met, and I've asked her to read through this and, you know, to ask me any questions she might have about it, and then to check that she does or does not authorize the hospital and me to perform these things. And she and I would both sign it.
All right. And at this point, would you have had any in-depth discussion with her about what the examination would consist of?
Not in depth. Typically, I would give a summary of what would happen, and then I'll let the patient know that even though they're signing the consent form, that it's an ongoing process, and if we get to a portion of the exam that they do not want to do, they can tell me no at that time.
Okay. And would you please tell the jury what that summary would be? What would you say?
So I would let her know that I'm going to look her over from head to toe for any injuries. I'm going to perform a pelvic exam on her where I will insert a speculum. I'll collect swabs as I'm doing these things, and I'll document any scratches or bruises or any other injuries I would find.
All right. And obviously we're back to she signed it, and down at the bottom, responding officer.
The responding officer is not filled in. However, Detective Jason Mayo was there.
Okay. And do you recall that from your own recollection or just from the document?
I recall him being there.
Okay. Now, would he have had any part to play in the actual examination?
No.
Okay. And, pardon me, we could go to page 2. And I think probably for eyesight, just to do it a block at a time. When you say taking a history, how in-depth a history is of that? Is it like from birth to?
It's a general health history. We ask about operations. I would ask if she had any significant medical history, such as asthma, diabetes, anything that she sees a doctor for on an ongoing basis. If there were medications that she took every day, whether they be prescribed by a healthcare provider or that she purchased over the counter. If she had any history of psychiatric diagnosis, if she had any previous rapes or assault, and if she were allergic to any medicines.
Okay. A history germane to this examination?
Yes.
Okay. And with respect to the assault, B, what notations did you make and what did she tell you about that?
She told me that it occurred on 6/23/13 in the early morning and on Vanderbilt's campus. And then I documented the last thing she remembers being at Tin Roof, talking to friends about midnight, waking up at 8 a.m. alone in the bedroom with one of my friends, and then in parentheses, friend's bedroom, Brandon Vandenburg.
Okay. Given that, did that give you a time frame?
Yes.
And on page 1, 6/26/13, 5 p.m., was there any significance to you as expert in your field about that time gap?
Yes, we typically see patients within a 72-hour window after the assault occurred. This fell outside of that 72-hour window.
Okay. I guess then the question would be, why do the exam in this case?
It's possible to collect DNA evidence after the 72-hour window. It just, it's not as likely.
Okay. And with respect to, let me just sort of go through, since you have this, the other questions pertaining to the assault itself, was she able to give you any information about that?
She was not. We asked specific questions. Was her vulva penetrated, her mouth penetrated, her anus penetrated? Did ejaculation occur? Those were not known. It was unknown whether a condom was worn. She did tell me that she did not take any medications prior to or after the assault.
Okay. And with respect to...
Objection, Your Honor. I think it would be an alleged assault. Witness state that.
Okay. From the incident reported, whatever term that make counsel comfortable, just going to move on to her activities following the incident. Did you ask her about that?
I did. We asked these questions to know, well, if the patient showered, for example, then probably some of that DNA has been washed off in the shower. So we ask if they've douched, bathed or showered, changed clothes, consumed anything, defecated, had a bowel movement, urinated, brushed teeth, or gargled. So
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say she had not douched and she had not gargled.
But otherwise had events taken place?
Yes.
And in your opinion, as an expert in this field, could that have affected the collection of evidence?
Yes.
Okay. And was that for the reasons you've already stated?
Yes. Just that the evidence could have been washed away and that we were outside of that 72-hour window. So.
Right. Thank you. Moving on down, a question about her last voluntary intercourse.
Yes. She told me she had voluntary intercourse on June 23rd, 2013, about 5 p.m., and that it was vaginal intercourse, and and that a condom was not worn. And I noted intercourse with Brandon Vandenburg.
Let's go ahead and ask this.
That's
So
correct.
did any of these other names, Brandon Vandenburg or anything, mean anything to you?
No.
Okay. And perhaps also, with Detective Mayo being there, did Detective Mayo give you any information?
I believe he just told me they suspected that something may have happened.
Okay,
So,
but nothing beyond that?
no.
Okay. Now, if we go to page 3. All right. What is this page, and what is the purpose of the information?
This is a body diagram page, so it's where we document the injuries that are found on the exam. It's also where I note the attitude and behavior of the victim and the outward appearance.
Okay. Attitude and behavior. What is that? What was hers?
There's three different ways we describe the general attitude and behavior of an alleged victim of sexual assault. It would be controlled, expressed, or mixed. In this case, I noted that she had a controlled response, which would be calm and or composed. And then I also noted patient asked appropriate questions. Patient complains of shoulder pain, no visible bruising.
Was there anything unusual about that as far as her appearance and behavior?
No.
Okay. Is there anything, in your professional opinion, as a typical rape victim?
There's not a typical response.
Okay. And before moving on, the shoulder pain, do you recall which shoulder?
I do not recall, and I did not document. I would have looked at the shoulder. I assume she pointed to one, or I would have looked at it.
Okay.
So.
Or them?
Or them.
Okay.
Yes.
You can make a notation, I believe, if I'm reading, clothing intact?
Yes.
Okay. What did that mean? She was...
Just that her clothing wasn't torn at all. I didn't see any stains on it. I didn't see any rips, any dirt, any visible dirt.
Okay. And was there any indication to you that those were not the clothes she was wearing some 90 hours prior?
No, no.
Okay. Now, I believe you told the jury that you do a head-to-toe or physical examination. Is that conducted with the person in the nude?
Yes, she would be undressed for this.
Okay. And did you make any notations that we see here regarding any physical marks upon her body?
Yes, I did.
And if you could just sort of walk us through those.
Sure. A 3 centimeter by 3 centimeter wound below her right knee.
Now, oh, excuse me. For those of us who are not metrically inclined, what are we talking about? Penny, dime? Could you put it in any?
I actually brought a ruler, so 3 centimeters.
About an inch.
It's a little more than an inch.
Okay, just to hold that up for everybody. It's not a little over an inch.
Okay. Thank you. With that reference now, if you could go ahead.
Okay, so a 3 centimeter by 3 centimeter wound below her right knee, scabbed at present time, red in border. And then on her left upper thigh, a 4 centimeter by 2 centimeter purple bruise. Below that, 2 centimeter by 1 centimeter purple bruise. And below that, still on the left thigh, a 3.5 centimeter by 2.5 centimeter purple bruise. On her left upper thigh, just below her buttocks, on her back, a 4 centimeter by 2 centimeter purple and red bruise, a 6 centimeter by 2 centimeter purple bruise, and then on her left calf, a 2 centimeter by 2 centimeter purple bruise. On her right buttocks, a 4.5 centimeter by 2.5 centimeter yellow and brown bruise, a 3 centimeter by 1 centimeter linear red bruise, 2 bruises, each 1 centimeter by 2 centimeters, that were yellow and brown, also on her right buttocks. And then scratches on her right and left lateral ankles, scabbed over in red.
Now, based upon your experience and training, could you give the jury any estimate as to the age of any of these injuries?
Bruises progress through the same color changes as they age. They start out as red or blue, then change to purple, and then green, yellow, and then brown. Typically, bruises that are red, blue, or purple are less than 5 days old. I can't say exactly how old they are.
Okay. So would these be within the parameter of the time frame given for the alleged incident?
Objection, Your Honor. She just said she can't give an estimate of when these bruises occurred.
Yeah.
I believe she said exact time.
Right. And the question was were they within the parameter, which is 3 days? And I think she can answer that.
But she just said she couldn't give an estimate. So why is he being allowed an opportunity to try to correct it?
Because I think what the court heard and what I heard was that she could answer the question.
Right. It's up to 5 days is what I heard, and the parameters are about 3 days.
Okay. So may I repeat the question?
Yes.
So would bruises be within the parameter of the time given for the alleged incident?
Yes, the red, blue, and purple bruises would fall within that parameter.
Okay. Now, how about the scabbed over injury to the lower leg? Anything you could tell us about that?
Wounds epithelialized or form a scab anywhere from 6 hours after the injury occurs up to 48 hours after it occurs, and that scab falls off anywhere from 7 to 14 days later. So once again, I can't say exactly when that injury occurred.
But again, would that be within the time frame, the parameter of the reported incident?
Object for the record based on her testimony that she can't say when they occurred. That seems very clear to me, Judge. I don't think there's any way to misinterpret that.
Apparently there is.
I respectfully disagree. Go ahead.
Do I need to repeat that again?
Yes.
All right. And we're talking about the scab, the injury. Given your parameters, would that be within the time frame of the reported incident?
Yes.
All right. Now, notice down at the bottom appear to be little feet drawn.
Yes.
What, if anything, did you observe about her feet, ankle area?
I observed somewhat symmetrical scratches on her lateral ankles, both her right and her left foot.
Okay. And what do you mean by that, just in lay terms? Top, side?
The sides, the outsides of the ankles.
Okay. I believe we could go to page 4. Okay. Page 4. What is the purpose of page 4, and what, if anything, can you tell us about that examination?
Page 4 is where I document the pelvic exam. I did not see any visible trauma. I noted that her cervical os was closed and that there was scant white discharge in her vaginal vault.
And what was...
Believe she was 21.
All right. And was what you saw from the examination consistent with a person of that age?
Yes.
Okay. Were there any unusual findings one way or the other?
No.
Okay. And with respect to, again, given the parameters, the time of the alleged incident, any way for you to tell whether there was or was not any penetration?
No.
And I believe we could go ahead and go to page 5. And again, this says summary of the examination. Did you provide this offer of treatment or things of that nature?
Yes, we offer HIV prophylaxis. We also offer prophylaxis for sexually transmitted infections such as gonorrhea, chlamydia, and trichomonas. And then I would have, well, on the summary findings, I would summarize our visit.
And then I believe lastly, page 6. And before I ask anything specific about page 6, could the witness be handed the rape kit?
I think that's number 6.
Number 6. I was going to guess, but then I thought better of it. Exhibit number 6. You're being handed our exhibit number 6. Do you recognize that item?
Yes.
And what is that?
It's an evidence collection kit, also what we call a rape kit.
Okay. And is there anything particular about that one with respect to your testimony today?
Yes, it's the kit that I collected on this day.
Okay. And does that correspond to number 6?
Yes.
Page number 6?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what is the purpose of that evidence collection box?
It's where I place all the swabs that I collect along with anything else that would have been collected, such as underwear, pubic hair combings. They're all packaged in this box.
Okay. Let me, since you said that, did you collect any underwear?
I did not collect underwear or clothing.
All right. And with respect to the other items collected that are shown here on the document, were those placed in the evidence box?
Yes, not all items are placed in the evidence box. Column 2 denotes number of items placed in kit, so things not placed in the box include the cervical culture for gonorrhea, the rectal culture for gonorrhea, the oral pharyngeal culture for gonorrhea, then the blood test, the HIV, the RPR, which is for syphilis, the blood alcohol level, the hepatitis B surface antigen, the urine drug screen, the urine pregnancy test, and then the 2 blood tests for Rohypnol and GHB were not placed in that box.
Okay. I think it just, oh, here it is. So one list and the second list is what went in the box?
Correct.
Now, for the items that went in the box, what happens to the box?
The box, it's either locked in the cabinet at work, or in this case, it was given to Detective Mayo.
Okay. And is it sealed and?
Correct. It's sealed and then signed over to him.
Right. And from that point on until theoretically you're back in court looking at it, do you have anything else to do with that box or its contents?
No.
Okay. And with respect to the remaining items in the first column, were those sent off for testing?
Those were sent to the lab at Vanderbilt for testing.
And do you have anything further ever to do with those?
No.
And do you get the results back?
I do not get those results back, no.
So, and in this case specifically?
No, I've not seen the results from any of those tests.
Okay. And then closing down at the bottom, is there a end time noted on the examination?
Yes, I would have packaged the box at 19:15 or 7:15 p.m.
And by this time, would Miss been dressed and going on about her?
She would have been dressed. We may have been going over follow-up instructions as far as her testing, but the box would have been, the kit would have been completed at that point.
And is that a true exact copy of the document that we've just seen up on the screen that you have before you?
Yes.
Your Honor, I would tender that as the next numbered exhibit.
Number 51.
know you don't have it there in front of you anymore, but just to close up, you referenced page 6, down at the bottom, words that may not be able to pronounce that were sent for testing.
The Rohypnol and the GHB, which is gamma hydroxybutyrate.
Okay, and what are those?
They're 2 drugs commonly associated with drug-facilitated sexual assault. And on page 2, she described a period of time that she was unable to account for. So knowing that she could possibly have ingested one of those, and that could have been the reason that she couldn't account for that period of time, I ordered those 2 labs to be drawn.
All right. And again, is there any time frame associated with it?
It's difficult to detect those in the blood after 24 hours, but I ordered them anyways out of an abundance of caution, and just because she couldn't account for a long period of time, or what seemed to be a long period of time.
I believe that's all I have. Thank you, Ryan.
All right, cross-examination.
Good afternoon, Ms. Parnell. I'm Warwick Robinson, and I have some questions, please. Ms. Parnell, the notes that you introduced today, I believe, is Exhibit 51. Exhibit 51, are they an accurate description of the account you took?
Yes, sir.
Okay. As well as your findings regarding Ms. And I may call your attention, it's page 2 of her report. On page 2.
Your Honor.
You were referring on...
I believe so, given and everything.
I understand. Okay, Joe Norman can pull it up, I'm sure.
Okay, if she can pull it up for me, Your Honor, that would be fine.
All right.
Yes, please. May I move over here with it, Your Honor? Okay. If I may, Ms. Parnell, you see this? The form says brief description of event, including specific areas of physical contact, as well as notation of use of foreign objects or weapons, right?
Yes.
And that's the question you ask her, and she gives you a response, does she not?
Yes.
And in this case, she states here, last thing she remembers being at Tin Roof talking to friends about midnight waking up at 8 a.m. alone in the bedroom with one of my friends, and as you stated, the friend is Brandon Vandenburg, is that right?
Yes.
And you at night, and I'm assuming you meant alcohol, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then you wrote on the form, you wrote what she told you here. Did you not?
Yes, I did.
And I believe this says, I don't have the ability to blow this up, but it says, patient states she did drink quite a bit of alcohol, mixed drinks, correct?
Correct.
And and drinks is plural, written down as plural here, is it not?
It is.
And then it goes on to say, you go on to write, and shots, correct?
Correct.
And shots is plural.
Correct.
And then you go on to state, patient reports she drank more than usual, and a woman was buying drinks for her group of friends. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
All right. Could we go to page 3, Ms. Norman, please? All right. And this is the examination page, I believe. Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And you state patient CO, I believe that means complains of.
Correct.
Shoulder pain, no visible bruising, correct?
That's correct.
And that would be bruising in the shoulder area or scratches?
That would have been bruising in the shoulder area.
Okay. And then there are questions here with where you would check yes or no. Is that right?
Yes.
And the question, it calls for signs of physical trauma. That's what this says here, does it not?
Yes.
Okay. And as for when you checked her head and face, you checked no signs of physical trauma, right?
Correct.
And when you checked her neck, you found no signs of physical trauma.
Correct.
And when you checked her breasts, you found no signs of physical trauma.
Correct.
And that would be the same for her chest when you checked it, no signs of physical trauma.
Correct.
And her abdomen, you found no signs of physical trauma.
Correct.
Now the extremities, you did check yes, correct?
Correct.
And that's because of the bruising that you found on her legs.
That's correct.
All right. Now, you also inquired about her back, and you checked no signs of physical trauma.
Correct.
And the next is buttocks, and you checked yes, and that would be because of the bruising you saw on her buttocks, right?
That's correct.
That she had fallen at her apartment complex and lost a shoe and scratched, and that's how she got some of these scratches on her ankles and knees.
No, she did not.
All right. On page 4, if we could pull it up, please. you made, this is where you noted any physical findings or issues with regard to her genital area, is that right?
Yes.
And specifically with the Mons area, you wrote down without lesion, correct?
Correct.
And as for the vulva, you wrote down without lesion.
Correct.
And then the vagina, you wrote no visible trauma.
That's correct.
And with, I believe there were two places that there was nothing performed, right?
That's correct. I did not perform a bimanual exam.
Okay. And then the last listing, body part identified is the rectum, correct?
That's correct.
And you noted and listed no visible trauma, no complaints of pain or discomfort.
That's correct.
We could go to page 2, please. Ms. Parnell, on page 2, paragraph D here says last voluntary intercourse, correct?
That's correct.
And that would be sexual intercourse, right?
That's correct.
And the date on that, I believe, says 6/23 of 13.
That's correct.
And the approximate time was 1,700 hours, which in lay people time is
5 p.m.
And she reported that was sexual intercourse with Brandon Vandenburg, right?
Yes.
And she admitted to you that it was consensual sexual intercourse with Brandon Vandenburg, right?
Well, I would have posed the question this way. When was the last time you had sex because you wanted to?
Okay.
And that's what she told me.
And that implies consensual
Correct.
sexual intercourse. Okay. And did she indicate to you that at 5:00 p.m. on June 23rd that Mr. Vandenburg ejaculated inside of her on this occasion?
That was not a question that I asked. Just whether or not the partner had worn a condom, had a vasectomy, and whether or not she had douched after intercourse.
Okay. And she indicated to you that her partner, Mr. Vandenburg, did not wear a condom, correct?
That's correct.
And to her knowledge, he had not had a vasectomy.
Correct.
And that she did not douche after following intercourse.
That's correct.
Now, as part of your history, you ask about prior surgeries, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And I believe it says surgery on left eyelid in maybe August of 2011.
Yes.
But that's not really relevant to anything you were doing.
No.
And I believe it says perhaps hospitalized at age 5 for unknown reason.
Correct.
And that plays no part in what you're doing.
No.
Now, medications that she spoke to you about OCPs. What is that?
Oral contraceptive pills.
Okay. And the next one is fluoxetine?
Fluoxetine.
Fluoxetine. Okay. For bereavement.
Which would be an indicated usage of an antidepressant, such
Okay.
as fluoxetine. So.
Could we go to page 5, please? Now, your summary of findings and medical recommendations are listed on page 5 of 6, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And your recommendations were not for, she was not admitted to the ER at that point?
No.
Okay. And you actually recommended a follow-up with the Vanderbilt Student Health Center. Is that right?
Yes.
And that was mainly just to follow up on the lab results?
To follow up on her, yes, to follow up on her lab results and to have repeat testing done.
Okay. And she verbalized to you that she understood your suggestions?
Yes.
And she had no further questions for you?
That's correct.
And not that you would, but you did not miss for any follow-up?
No.
And you don't know what, if any, follow-up there was, do you?
I do not.
Okay. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Redirect. Very briefly. Mr. Robinson, I asked you about the injuries on legs and ankles being as a possible result of a fall. What about the ankles, the injuries on the ankles? In your professional opinion, would those be consistent with a fall?
It struck me as odd that day that I saw her that she had somewhat symmetrical injuries on the outsides of her ankles, because I could not imagine a mechanism of injury that would have caused those.
And with respect to the absence of injuries to vaginal area and anal area as depicted in page 4, is there anything significant about the absence of injury?
No, the genital tissue is elastic and very vascular, especially in a woman of childbearing age who also has the added estrogen effect. So it can withstand being penetrated and not tear. And it's difficult, and it's in the literature, it's difficult to find a genital injury after 48 hours have passed from the time of assault. So it's not surprising to me in this case or in any other case I do if I don't find a genital injury.
Okay. And with the anal area, in your opinion as an expert, would the person's consciousness or absence of consciousness have any part in that?
It could, in that they would not resist penetration to that area or to the vaginal area. So it's the same concept of that tissue just being elastic and well vascularized.
Okay. I was thinking colonoscopies are generally done under,
Correct. Under anesthesia?
yes. That's all.
All right, recross.
Ms. Parnell, it would be total speculation for you to, or a guess for you to suggest how scratch. You don't know.
I don't know how scratches got there, no.
Okay. And you said your report is complete, right?
Yes.
And accurate. Where at no time did she indicate that she had any vaginal soreness over the past 86 to 90 hours, did she?
Not that I documented anywhere, no.
Okay. And you didn't document any pain or that she might have had in her rectal area?
No.
Okay. Because obviously that would be important in this type of examination, right?
Correct.
And that's absolutely something you would have noted if she told you she had pain in her vaginal or rectal area over the past 3 or 4 days.
Correct.
That's all I have.
Any further? All right, thank you. Next, please. All right, that's the state's last witness for today, correct? Yes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the state has one final witness. That's tomorrow morning. So we will be wrapping up tomorrow, but for today, your job is complete for today. We have to take up some matters after you leave, but so you're going to have a few extra hours to, I don't know what you're going to do, but you have something planned, I presume. All right, enjoy the rest of your day. I will see you tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, okay?
All rise.
Ms. Clark gave them copies before lunch.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to take about 10 or 15 minutes and then come back and we'll go over the charge, okay?
Would it be possible to get an extra copy?
You'll have to ask my boss inside the office for that.
Yes, Your Honor, I will.
She runs that show.
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, in a 15 approximately.
Yes, sir.
Now we got to think what we're going to do.
I knew when he was like, y'all got a plan, right? Y'all were all looking at each other like, oh, really?